Everyone, welcome back to another lecture on the course Python Fundamentals Building Blocks for Aspiring Developers. So we will continue with the sixth module that is about file handling. We are on the second day of this module or 22nd day of our lecture. We will see how we can write data to files and see about different file modes. So let's begin. So as we learned in the previous lecture that we can read data from files in a bit of different formats too. Similarly, Python also allows us to write data to files. We can write text to files and everything. So after opening the file, we can use the write function. To read the files, we used read function, but to write something to the file, we use write function. So why do we need it? So sometimes we have some data generated by our code and we need to save it somewhere, because once we exit the code, we close the code, everything in the code is finished. The variables are finished, so variables which hold the data, if they are finished, data is also gone. Sometimes we need to save the data, so that's why we need to have these text files. And once we have these text files with the data, we can even use them later with the same code or just for any other purpose. So if we talk about writing the file, first we want to do is that we want to open the file similarly. So I'm using the with syntax, and I need to open the file in the write mode. So if you look at the open parentheses, I've given file path and then I've given W instead of R. So R means read mode, W means write mode. So now I have access to be able to write on the file. If I use read mode, I cannot write on the file. And this is why I need W mode whenever I need to update a file. So there are three basic type of file modes. So the first is the read mode. So it opens the file for reading. The file must exist, and attempting to write on the file will result in an error. So if we are wanting to read some file, obviously the file has to be there. We already saw that if the file was not there, it showed us an error. And we cannot write anything on the file, that is, we cannot make any changes to the file, we can just read it. Now the second is the write mode. So the write mode opens the file for writing. If the file exists, it is truncated. If the file does not exist, it is graded. So the purpose of W is to write something. The purpose is not to read something. So whatever the file path we give, file is being created on that file path. It is not being read. So whenever a file is created, if the um, if the directory is correct, directory name is correct, or things like that, we can just give a name. The file is not there, it will be created, and whatever we write will be written in the file. But if a file of the same name is there, it will not show us an error, but it will empty the file first, or you can say it will delete the file and then create a new empty file. So it will not write on top of this file. It will, whatever is in the file of the same name, it will be deleted. Then we have a new file of the same name, and whatever we write will be there. Previous data in the previous file will not be there. Then we have the append mode, that is opens the file for appending. So appending means that adding to some previous data. So it's similar to write, but um, it will append the data if the file is already there. So if there is a file of the same name and I want to write something, but I use the append mode instead of the write mode, it will not delete the data. It will just see, okay, this is the last line of text. I will move to the next line and write whatever is there and just save the file. So previous data is not affected, and we can just pretty much write new data. But if the file does not exist, it will create a new file that will be empty file, and whatever we write will be there. And to open it in the append mode, we need to use the keyword a. So let's start coding. So let's go back to our Visual Studio Code. I will just empty everything over here like this, and everything over here. Yeah, so one thing that we need to make sure from the previous one was that in the with statement is that if I print here file, like this and I run the code, it will show me a text wrapper. But if I try to read contents in the file um, using this exact same thing, then it will say IO operation on closed file, that the file is closed. I cannot do any operation on that one. So you see, this is why we use the with statement. If I use this file dot read over here, if I do here, print, yeah, so it's coming over here, but it's not coming over here. I just wanted to do it because I think we did not do the file dot read. So I just wanted to show it to you guys so there's no ambiguities for you guys later. So let's begin. First, what we want to do is that we want to write something onto a file. So what we want to do, we want to create a string. So let's say I like Python. It is easy to learn. That's our string. Let's say we want to give it something. My string. This is my string. Okay. I like Python. It is easy to learn. Then as I want to save it into some file. So what I will do is that I will create a file path. So this file path is the file that I want to create. Okay, this is not the one that is existing. For example, I will say output, and again I need to specify the extension of the file. And now you see we're in the same directory. If I go there, there is no file called output, right? But we say okay, output.txt with open, and I say file path. Here I need to give it the mode, that is W. We want it to be write mode as file. So you already know what file is. This is the object. I can do whatever with this one. So if I say file dot read, what do you think is gonna be there? Not readable because the file is not there. But if I say file dot write, and what I want to write my string, and then I run the code and it says okay, there's no output because we don't print anything over here. But if we go over here, we see the file output. If I open the file, it says I like Python, it is easy to learn. The same exact thing that I wrote there. I can even access the file from here. Yeah. Oops. I can just do it like this. Yeah. I like Python, it is easy to learn. I can also put this complete thing in this one. Okay. I just do it like this. Okay. Yeah. So if it's on multiple line, I think I need to do this here. So if your string is on a multiple line, you can add this backslash. So Python knows that next line is a continue of this one. Okay. So this is one complete string, but this time around, I'm going to give it output 2.txt. Everything's the same. Just the file path is different, which means a second file path will be there. I run the code. Output 2 is generated. Let's just look at that. Yeah, everything is there. Right? Now you see everything is on one single line. So in Python, if we want to move to the next line, if we want the code to move to the next line, we write this backslash n thing. Okay. So this means that move to the next line or add a break in the line. So if I just, let's just for purposes, I add it to these three things over here, and I add it to here and here. Okay. So I've added it at 5 locations. I'm now gonna keep the same. I'm gonna say output right now. Output.txt already exists, right? It already has this data. Okay. So now if I run the code, what it will do is that I run the code, no error. This is now updated, right? output.txt is updated. Okay, because it will overwrite the file that is there. So what this \n will do is that it will add a enter. So if I just copy this string from here just for you guys to see and just add it over here, so it says, okay, so this is the string that we have. It says hello this. Here's the \n, so this line must be at the second one. There should be a line break similar to this one and this one. Now for the next one, the next 1 2 3 lines, we don't have a line break. So 5 6 9 or 4 5 6 9 should be at the same line. So 4 5 6 9 are at the same line because there is no line break. But then instead of having a line break over here, I have a line break over here in the start. Okay, so what it does is that it again goes to the next line. You see, goodbye Python, it goes to the next line, but it doesn't show this \n. So this means that it doesn't matter if I put the break over here or somewhere in between, it will just break from there. If I put the break somewhere in between, let's say if I have this and I say the last line, I say \n. Okay, run the code, output is there, hello Python, hello Python, good to see you and I am learning 8 10. This part is at the next line. So this is how we use this \n to create line, to create like move to the next line in our code. I can just add it over here like this, like this, like this, and everything should be fine. Just move it from here. Yeah, because it doesn't look good to me over here. It's just a personal preference of where you want to put it. Doesn't really matter that much, but just that where you want to put it, where you want to go. That's all. Now let's say let's just overwrite this file for once. We have the output.txt, everything looks correct. Yeah. Now I can also overwrite it over here, but we know how overwriting works. So what I want to do is that as output to, okay, but instead of opening it in the reading mode, in the writing mode, I want to open it in the reading mode. So now let's say we have this output 2. Date file is already there, but it is in the reading mode. That's correct. And I want to say print file dot read. Okay, just to show you guys, comment it out and this. So it says everything is there. But if I want to write something over here, let's say I want to write again this my string. In the code, do this. It prints this thing over here, but then it says not writable because the mode is not writable. But if I do it like this, it says not readable. We cannot read it. We can only write it. So we can only use one of these at a time. If I do this, and now everything should be correct and it's again overwritten. So this is the purpose of writing and everything. So now let's say if I have these two files, output and output 2. So now instead of deleting a file, I say append it, and let's say my new string. What my new string is? My new string is I have recently mastered Python and use it every day. Let's just keep it like this, but I want this to have to be on a next line wherever I put it, right? So now if I say, okay, in the output.txt, if you want to do an append, write my new string, that's fine. But in the output.txt, let's see, something is already here. But if I run this code, control F5, no error. But if I go to output.txt, it says I have recently mastered Python. Previous code is already there. You see, if I do output2.txt and do a write mode, just to show you a difference. It is already something is there. I run the code. All the previous thing is erased in the write mode, but in this one everything is there. It just keeps on appending to the new one. Now even if I in the output I just append again and I append my string, the previous one, like this, it is appended to the previous one. No problem. So this is how we use append. And yeah, and about the file paths, this is the same exact concept that we learned in the previous one. Like if we need to give relative paths or the complete paths, it doesn't change in Python. And yeah, and that was all in this lecture about writing things in the file. We learned about two different modes of writing, and hopefully you will be able to use them in your future codes. So that was all in this lecture, and we'll see you in the next one. Up till then, goodbye.